All right, well, thanks for joining us today. The idea competition is starting its 14th season. And so we wanted to have this virtual kickoff as a way to talk through what has changed, what's new, what's coming up, and to add some information about how the process works and answer any questions that might be out there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. Oh, not yet, actually. First, we want to make sure that we thank our sponsors. So the idea competition would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. And so these are the sponsors from our previous season. We're working on cementing our sponsors for this current season now. Our gold sponsors are the Northwest Minnesota Foundation, the Northwest SBDC. Our silver sponsors, LaValley Industries, HSML Intellectually Property and Business Lawyers, IdeaWorks, Bremer Bank, Evolve Creative, Minn Kota Power. Our bronze sponsors are United Valley Bank and Security Bank. And then our friends are the Northwest Regional Development Commission, Launchpad, Headwaters Regional Development Commission, University of Minnesota Crookston, and 360 Degrees. Giving a quick welcome now will be Phil Knutson, who's the director of our Northwest SBDC. Phil?
Thank you. Like Bethany said, I'm Phil Knutson. I'm the director of the Northwest Small Business Development Center, which is hosted by the Northwest Minnesota Foundation, covering the 12 counties of Northwest Minnesota. The SBDC provides no-cost consulting in which we can help business owners and potential business owners in areas like startup assistance, business plan development, cash flow management, marketing, market research, as well as many other topics. Today, we're here to do a kickoff for the 14th year of the idea competition. The idea competition is a type of an entrepreneurship and or business plan competition. Some call it an accelerator program of the SBDC. Idea helps entrepreneurs make their idea a reality, and they even have the possibility to win cash and in-kind awards to help them in their endeavor. Over the past 13 years, we've awarded more than $450,000 and over $32,000 in in-kind awards. As we kick off this year, we want to share with you the process and some of the new pieces to the competition that were added this year. Thanks again for being here, to the couple of you on live, and to those of you that watch it at a later time. I'll now pass it on to Mick McCrory, the coordinator of the program.
Hi, everyone. As Phil said, I'm Mick McCrory, the program coordinator of the Small Business Development Center, and I also work with the idea competition. We're going to take you through this map that Bethany put up on the screen. This is a handout. This can be sent to you via email as well, but we're just going to take you through this and tell you about each step. Applications opened November 1st. We have what's called this year, we are introducing the Dream Builders round. What we did this year because of COVID and all sorts of other things that have happened, obviously, we are not charging a fee this year. So our fees ranged anywhere from $75 to $150 to even apply to the idea competition. And this year we are not charging an entry fee. So that part's good. I do want to point out that if you're interested in applying or have already applied, the Small Business Development Center allows you to come in and we can assign you an actual coach to coach you through the idea competition. This is at no out-of-pocket cost to you, so that part's really good. And you have a consultant at your disposal to help you through the phases of the idea competition. Applications will close on January 3rd, and then around that time, as we close the competition, excuse me, on the 19th, we have our group learning day, which is the next step. This is where you learn about how to do a business plan, how to do your financials like cash flow, intellectual property, marketing, and marketing research. There'll be speakers there to talk about each of those 5 things. Moving along, the deadline number 1, this is where you have to have your business plan, your financials, like your cash flow. These items need to be uploaded into the site so that they can be judged. So after this, after the deadline on the 18th, I send everything to the judges, and then we see who makes it into the finals. The next step is group learning day 2, which we used to call lab 2. That'll be in March. And this is where you'll get training on presentations, creating a video, maybe some round robin presentations with the in-kind donors like La Valley Industry, Evolve Creative, HSML, and people like that. Moving forward, deadline number 2, this will be the deadline of your final business plan and financials, so on and so forth, and your 30-second video. I think on April 4th, yes, April 4th, we're going to have our final presentations. This is at a site to be determined. You'll get 5 minutes to set up, 20 minutes to present, 10 minutes for Q&A, and then 5 minutes to tear down. And then we have the judges score all that. And then we let you know where and when the banquet is, sometime towards the end of April.
So Mick, just going back to some of the things you said. So the 2 big things this year are the free registration.
Correct.
And also this Dream Builders round and the introduction of categories, correct?
Correct.
Yes, and we have not pre-selected the categories. How are those being decided?
If we're going to see who applies first, Phil, you can help me out here too. Phil, sure. Phil kind of thought this part up.
I don't know that I'll take all the credit or blame. But one thing with the application round of the idea competition over the years that has been kind of a point of question is, do I need to have my business plan ready? Do I need to have this, that, or the other thing ready? And at the application round, part of us labeling it this, I guess, and calling it this, is to make it clear that we just want to hear about your idea. We want to know if it fits the competition in any way. There's a few questions on that application. We don't need a ton of detail. We don't need anything uploaded. We want enough information that we can see that, yep, there's an idea. It's already being pursued, or it's going to be new, whatever it might be. And that the other part of it is we kind of want to just see everybody's dreams, whether they've already started or it's on the back of a napkin. People in the past have just thought they needed to be so far along to start. And we don't necessarily think that's the case. So some of the categories might be, we might categorize if we get a good chunk of people that are brand new with a new idea that they haven't done anything with yet, like an emerging entrepreneur, we might create that category. If we see a number of them that are more in the social entrepreneurship realm, we might have that category. We don't want to categorize them beforehand because we don't necessarily know what or how many we're going to get. Hope that helps.
No, that was great.
Thank you.
What I'm going to do now, everybody, is I'm going to stop the share. And when I do so, I'm doing so we can start to see everybody's face all together as we kind of move into this panel discussion or just further diving into the details and past experiences. So stop share. Now we see lots of faces. So you've gotten to hear from Mick, you've gotten to hear from Phil. Now we're going to introduce some partners and some past participants. So I'm just going to go ahead and call on you if you want to just kind of introduce who you are, what your affiliation is with the idea competition, how you first got involved. So Tiffany, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Tiffany Fettig. I wear a few hats. I'm associated with Launchpad, which is an initiative of Greater Bemidji, and it's a co-working space as well as an entrepreneur support hub here in Bemidji. and also work with Headwaters Regional Development Commission, managing revolving loan funds for that organization. And for both organizations, do a lot of business finance work. My association with the competition has been for quite a few years now, really being an advocate for promoting it and finding those potential entrepreneurs that have ideas and getting them involved into the competition, as well as being on the judging side of things, and usually in the first round of the competition. So
Great. Thanks, Tiffany.
Yep.
George? Do you want to introduce yourself, kind of just say how you first got involved and what your role is now?
Sure, I just had to unmute there.
Oh, okay.
So good afternoon, everybody. My name is George Prince. I'm an entrepreneur and business owner. One of the companies that I'm a partner in is LaValle Industries. I'm also a partner in Evolve Creative and LVI Supply, which are some of the sponsors of the idea competition. I've been involved with the idea competition since its beginning. So I've been a contestant, I've been a judge, I've helped work on processes and different things for the competition. And for the last several years, I've been a sponsor. So I've been involved with the competition in just about every way that you can be. So that's kind of a unique perspective that I have. So yeah, and I guess I should also say I'm the mayor of the city of Bemidji, which is the other thing that I do on top of all of that. So
George stays very busy.
And I can also add that he said participant, also winner. So that's a pretty big deal.
Thanks, Phil. Bryce, would you like to introduce yourself and say what your past role has been, how you're affiliated?
Yeah, Bryce Oakes, D3 Digital. It was a participant 2 different times. We won it the first time and came in third the second time. We also were fortunate enough to be involved with the Minnesota Cup. For those of you that might not know, the judges pick an idea or a group of folks that are they think would represent well down in Minneapolis. Have a lot of sponsors in Carlson School of Business, and it's kind of like our idea competition, but on steroids. But one of the neat things about idea competition, it's a lot smaller, easier to I don't know what the word is, to kind of traverse through the process. And but it was a fun experience both times, and also have gotten to just know a lot of neat people and collaborate. It's fun to see the folks on here and what a kind of small community the entrepreneur small business world is. So.
Well, thanks, everybody. I suppose I probably should have introduced myself at the get-go. I did not. My name is Bethany Wesley. I'm the communications director for the Northwest Minnesota Foundation, which hosts the SBDC, or the Northwest SBDC. So that is my role. So I'm just kind of helping keeping things moving today. I want to let you know if anybody has any questions and you want to make sure you get those out before you forget, before we get to the Q&A session. Phil is helping me by watching the chat. So if you want to chat a question or anything like that, we will certainly keep an eye on it and come back to it. So I think what we're going to move into now is just kind of some questions for our past participants and our partner. So I think, why don't you all talk to what you believe is the biggest value of the idea competition? And I think we'll start with our past participants first and then circle toward Tiffany to kind of move that along. So Bryce, where did you find the most value of the competition as you went through it as a competitor?
Yeah, the entire process was really good. From Phil talked about you don't have to have your business plan polished before you go, just have an idea. Of course, it's nice to have it as far along, but I would say don't let that stop you. Of course, our second time around we had a much more developed business plan, but the huge value was just going through the process. And then we also worked with a coach and mentor, Grant Oppegard, really helped us a lot. That was where we found a lot of values, to have someone kind of come alongside us, look at our business plan, kind of punch holes in it, encourage us, and then also just the kind of working with other people that are in a similar place was really, really helpful to us.
Did you find that the experience was different in the 2 years that you went through it, or it was pretty similar both times?
Yeah, no, it was different. I think the second time there was a blizzard, so we did the judging round remotely. But now with the new groups, I'm sure they've had COVID, so I shouldn't complain or say, oh no, we had a blizzard. No, so the competition itself had changed a little bit, but I think it was really different having been through it the first time. Knew a lot more what to expect. It's interesting to see what you guys are doing with the categories and waiting until you see the groupings as a way to kind of break down that, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because it was different having gone through it the first time to the second. Gave a lot more confidence and to know what to expect. So I think we were able maybe to utilize the resources and the competition kind of time frame a little better.
Okay, thanks, Bryce. George, when you look back on your experiences as a competitor, where did you see the value?
So I guess I didn't mention, and Phil brought it up, we in fact did win the competition twice, back-to-back years, and it was with different products. So it wasn't the same product or the same idea. And I guess I would tell you, part of the value of the competition is just to get moving, right? I know a lot of people who have ideas, have thoughts about things, and life goes by because we're all busy. We all have things going on, and people will say, I had that idea, right? And somebody else went and developed it, right? So you have to start somewhere. And so I think the competition gives people a good place to start, because there's good mentorship, there's good support, and there's a process that you walk through to kind of help you vet your idea, help to get inside of it, to understand how viable it is. And so to me, whether you get a cash prize at the end of this or not, I think there's value. And sometimes you might go through this process and realize maybe this idea isn't it. But I think you learn a lot as an entrepreneur. And if this isn't the idea that's the winner for you, who knows? Maybe everything you learn spurns that next idea, right? That is the one that's going to win. So I think there's a lot of value in that. There's value in the process because it really focuses you, it forces you to go through the critical thinking that you need to do to really understand how viable your idea is, and your business plan, your financials, and all the things that go into making a successful business. And I think the third piece of this is you get connected to resources, which once you know about them, they'll always be there for you, whether you do this or not. And you get connected to a network of other people. So, you're going to go through this competition with other people. And as you do, you're going to network and you're going to meet them. And it can be kind of a support group. There were people that were in the competition with us in the first 2 years there that we were involved with it. Some of which we still keep in touch with, and we know and we bump into from time to time, right? So I think sometimes people just need encouragement. And when things get a little tough and a little rough, because that's the nature of these kinds of things. And it's just good to have somebody else to visit with and bounce ideas off who's walking the same road you are, or maybe has, right? So I would tell you, I think those are probably the three biggest things that I would say are good takeaways.
Great, thanks. Tiffany, you've seen it from a different perspective over the years, for several years. So what have you heard from participants, or what have you seen that really brings the value to you?
I'd have to echo exactly what George and Bryce said. It is overall that support system in the process being huge. That support system, to always feel that you're not alone in this process is invaluable. And we see at Launchpad here, our meetups on a weekly basis being such an important piece of that entrepreneurship puzzle, because people want to know that they can bounce ideas off of each other and not be alone in a situation that they might be in that's challenging. And this competition does exactly that. It just builds that network that you're going to need from the beginning all the way through the life of your business. And whether it's that business idea or another one that comes down the road, those people can be, there for you to work on your idea with you and get you in contact with who you need to be. If that network is not big enough, it will continue to grow over time. Our association, even at the state level right now, adds even more value, because there are things going on at the state of Minnesota through their Launch Min program that really does even take this to another level and give us access to resources even in the Minneapolis metro area, which is also very valuable. So I think the network that we can offer participants is incredible, and it continues to grow. And I just think if someone has an idea, this is a time to take that chance to evaluate it, do a little bit of digging, do a little bit of research, do a little bit of work on their part over a few month period to see if it's worth pursuing.
Thanks. Something we've said a few times now this afternoon is that we're open to ideas at every stage, whether it's literally just an idea that's percolating, whether it's something you've kind of started to think out. George, at what stage were you when you guys first entered? How far along had you developed your idea when you first decided to enter the idea competition?
Well, the first time we entered, we were actually a fair amount of the way along as it relates to early stage business development. So we had a product, we kind of had a prototype, we were formally organized as a company, but really didn't have much in the way of sales, still had further refinement of the product that needed to happen. We were doing direct selling, so we didn't really have a distribution network, right? It's pretty early stage. And so, you know, that was back, I suppose, in 2008, if I'm remembering my years correctly, right? And now you flash forward to 2021, and, you know, we sell our products all over the world. We've got a very diverse product line. We use distribution partners, and we're back as a sponsor. So, I mean, even for us, in terms of maybe we were a little further along than we've, you know, seen others at different stages of the competition, we still have a long ways to go. And so definitely, again, the process of just thinking through things and maybe looking at things from a different perspective or a different angle, and getting connected to some additional resources. And, you know, you just, to Tiffany's point, you know, it's a big network. So you have to have an entry point. And, you know, the competition was an entry point to us, and we were able to access additional dollars for our development through USDA funding and other things as a result of the competition. And we would have never even known about that funding had we not come through the front door, right? So sometimes people kind of focus on, hey, whatever the cash prize is, but potentially you can be connected to a lot of other economic development programs that can provide resources, be they consulting or financial, which can help you, right? So I think there's a lot of value in that too. So I guess that's a quick little synopsis of kind of where we were.
Sure. Thanks, George. Bryce, how about you? How far along had your ideas been when you first entered the idea competition?
The first round, we had a good idea. We had our first patent done, but honestly, it's kind of like we launched a business and then backed into it. So that was where we found a lot of value in the competition, was forcing us to do our business plan. We all had our regular day jobs, and we're, you know, going to get to it business plan wise and whatever, but it forced us to develop things further. And then a shameless plug for our Wednesday morning meetups. George and Jason brought in a guy named Jim Larson from the HSML attorneys group, that patent and IP guys. And we had a different attorney working with us, but it was a really fortuitous event to meet him and work with him. And then I look, you know, fast forward a couple of years, and they're co-sponsoring with George. So you look at the network, and the other cool part is, you know, folks that have come through giving back to other new folks. And I haven't gotten to that level yet, but it's been fun to encourage a few of the folks that were in it last year and kind of tell them informally about the process. And now it's neat to see a formal tool like this to hopefully encourage other people that might be on the fence about joining the competition and advancing their idea, and then hopefully, you know, increasing the community of the region. And there's a lot of neat people and neat ideas out there.
One of the things that we definitely want to hear all the great ideas. It's one of the reasons we're introducing the free registration this year, is because we don't want it to be a barrier for people to think that they're investing too much, but we do ask that they invest the time, that you're actually committed to the process. So Bryce, how much, if you had to give a ballpark, like what was the time commitment as you went through the process? Like how much of your time did you really have to dedicate to it?
Yeah, you know, you could, to do it justice, you know, I would say probably, you know, 10 hours a week. I think originally you work like the dickens to get into it, and then you kind of hit the deadline. This is me and my kind of ADD way of approaching the business development. So, you know, work like the dickens initially, and then kind of let off, and then you had a few benchmarks. But you know, getting together with Grant Doppegard, and then you know, my other business partners were geographically distant, so finding time. But I would say initially you want to dedicate a pretty good amount of time to getting your idea and stuff kind of framed up, and then it does kind of waxes and wanes throughout the process. But I figure it, in that 5 to 10 hours a week would be probably more than sufficient. And then as you get later on in the process, closer to the judging, just polishing it up, depending on your skill set. For me, we had to find some people who were pretty good with graphic design and doing the video, and it turns out that we didn't have to get that serious. But you just the first time out, I think we probably spent more time at it, because the second time through we just knew what to expect. So it was kind of had that framework. And so I'm thinking kind of what Phil was talking about, the categories and how things are, that I don't know, I just encourage, if people are on the fence about it, they have an idea, is to just to do it, especially you're going to get some value. For us also, it just forced us to focus a little more on the actual plan and where we're going, versus try and take care of the day-to-day stuff, kids, family, the whole bit, and then in the regular job, but then to carve out time to be very purposeful about what we're doing. And then the other part was neat, having other folks that would talk to us or see what we're doing, and we presented to the Wednesday morning group, and people had really good feedback and criticism, but also the encouragement, because you're going, at point, there's, George touched on it too, there's ups and downs. You get kind of emotionally get beat up by life sometimes, and then you just have someone at the right time comes along and say, hey, it's a great idea, or have you thought of this, or you should talk to this guy, or it's pretty fun the way that works out. So I think just being in the space, being in that. So long answer, but I think 5 hours and change a week would be plenty. I was working 50 hours a week at a regular job and found a way to do that this as well. It wasn't terrible at all.
Okay, George, does that sound about ballpark for what your experience was as well?
I guess I would echo some of what Bryce has said. I think the amount of time he's given is a reasonable, estimate. But I would always tell you, your time commitment is kind of driven by what you're trying to do. Are you trying to win a competition? Are you trying to develop an idea? Are you trying to start a business? What are you trying to do, and where are you in the process, right? And again, I want to reiterate that I don't think a successful idea, every last one of them, turns into a business, because how you define success for an idea can be different, right? Maybe partnering with somebody ends up being what you do with that idea, or maybe you sell that idea to someone else, or you just never know where this is going to go, because what the final outcome is going to be based on the viability of the idea, and part of it is the entrepreneur. What do you want to do? We've been at this for quite some time, and occasionally we sit down and talk about, well, what do we still want to do when we grow up? Because it's a never changing piece. And as an entrepreneur, you go through life, and maybe in the beginning you've got a young family and you're raising your kids, and you're trying to do that, and you get partway through it, and now your kids are older, or maybe you're like me, the kids are out of the house, and so it's all different, right? So I sometimes just want to caution people that having a fully functioning operational business isn't always the outcome of an idea, and if that's not the outcome, that's okay, right? How we each define and measure success is different. But you originally asked me about time, and I would tell you that Bryce is probably pretty close on with his estimate there.
Yeah, George, I wanted to piggyback on what you were saying too. For us, more than the competition for like business development, it's more of a refining process. And you're spot on, because what we started with, our original idea, and what we're doing today is very, very different. The original concept is still there, but the going through the process really helped refine. Is it an idea? Is it a business? Is it a patent, a product we sell, we license? Or hey, you get into it and you say, maybe it's not going to work. But going through the process is super valuable, and kind of look at it almost as a mini MBA. Going through for us the plan, the financials, projections, marketing, all those pieces. It was really helpful.
And Bethany, let me add one last thing, right? I mentioned that we won back-to-back years. Well, the first year for the product we won, we've sold millions of dollars of that product. It's all over the world. It's what we actually call old technology now. Like the stuff we're working on is way advanced beyond that. The second product we won with, we're still developing all these years later because it was an incredibly sophisticated idea. And we've spent a lot of money in development, but we still haven't gone to market with that idea. So, you know, when I talk about success and timelines and all those things, I mean, I give you 2 examples, right? Both were winning ideas, development life cycle, very different for each.
That's interesting. Thank you. That's a great perspective. Tiffany, talk to me a little bit from your experience, not as a competitor, but as a partner, as a judge, as a help, promoter for this. Have you seen ideas all across the board that have been successful, whether they were further along in development, whether they were literal just ideas?
Yeah, I think so. And I think George is right. Some have taken a lot longer. So, I mean, some might be early on in the competition and still finding its way, but still in existence on some level. Some are very localized and others have the potential to be global. And so, if you have an idea for something, innovative in a market that has a lot of other competition, if there's some innovative feature to that, it's worth kind of throwing your hat into this and seeing how that might develop. So the spectrum it's all over the board. It really is. It's really fun as a judge to sit down and look at the applications and be like, wow, I would have never thought of this idea. And
to know that they're all coming from Northwest Minnesota. Yeah. It's just, that this area is so unique and there's so many great entrepreneurs and development and ideas out there. It's always interesting to me from an outsider's point of view to just see the winners list every year. And it's such a variety.
Right. And I think, when the competition first started, it was very much product, physical product based IP type competition, where now it really has evolved over the years to be more innovative. So it can be a service-based business that has a very innovative business model. And so that really has opened up the opportunities for people.
Just to totally kind of pivot the direction of the conversation, I want to speak to those who might be listening either live or maybe later on recording in terms of wanting to just not get involved, but to push awareness of the competition to a greater area, a different pot of, usual contestants. So what can people throughout the region do to just kind of help spread the word? Tiffany, you've been on this side for years. So how do you help get the message out and what tips do you have for others?
Well, it's just listening. I mean, you could be at dinner with a friend and have a friend bring up an idea that, geez, someday maybe I'd pursue this, and say, why someday? Right now, there's a competition here. You can enter and work on that idea and see if it really has some legs. So it's just really being, taking the time to listen to people and, making sure they're aware. And we're doing what we can, within our partner organizations to get the word out. But it's that mouth to mouth that probably does the best good. So just, make sure that if you have people in your family, friends, family, that have ideas that they've always wanted to pursue, this might be the perfect time to give them that nudge.
Great. Well, I think that's awesome. So thank you. I think that's probably a good place to kind of wrap up. I will kind of circle back just for final thoughts from our panel before we open it up to Q&A. So Bryce, any final thoughts that I didn't ask you about that you wanted to have a chance to share?
No, it's a good process. I'd encourage, if people are on the fence, just to go for it. And I don't know. Also, George and I are kind of echoing a lot of thoughts. He's a better speaker, maybe. That's why he's the mayor. But what we're going to figure out. People say, "How did you get into this?" Or it's like, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. And Launchpad was part of that. That idea competition. Everything is putting yourself out there, making yourself vulnerable, putting your idea into the space, and then refining it. And whatever we're doing, it's working. But it's there's a lot of people might be like, oh, I have this idea, but I'm nervous. I don't want to say it, might seem silly or dumb. It's like, hey, go for it. It's just taking that step, putting that action into place. It's pretty cool to see what can happen.
Thanks, Bryce. Final thoughts, George?
Yeah, I like what Bryce just said. When you put an idea out there, whatever it is, you make yourself vulnerable, right? And the truth is, a good idea when it goes through refinement will get some criticism, but there has to be a balance, right? If you take your idea to all your friends and families, they might tell you it's the greatest thing since buttered, toast, but that's because they love you and they care about you, right? And they don't want to hurt your feelings. So you need to take that outside of that world to be objective. At the same time, occasionally people are going to tell you you're going down the wrong path and that's a bad idea, and they're not necessarily going to be correct. And in my life, I've done a significant amount of business consulting as well. And people always say, hey, what do you think of this idea? And I always preface it by saying, none of us have a crystal ball and can unequivocally tell somebody this is a good idea or this is a bad idea. We can apply basic business principles to it, but there are no guarantees. And for me, like one of my favorite examples is the Snuggie, right? The cape thing with if somebody had come to me and said, in essence, we're going to take a blanket, cut 3 holes in it, we're going to sell millions of them, I probably would have looked at them and said, no way. But guess what? It happened, right? And I've also seen really good business ideas come that for whatever reason, the timing was bad, something happened like COVID that nobody expected that didn't make them happen, right? So, part of that is just getting over that fear, being willing to put yourself out there, realizing there's a lot that you have to sort through, but you're never going to get to your destination if you don't take your first step. And again, I can't reiterate enough that even if you go through this process and you get to the end and this idea isn't the one, what you learn may make your next idea that is the one that's going to be successful. And that's okay. And that to me is a win.
Great. Well, thank you all for answering questions. I'm going to open it up. If there's anybody here who has any questions that you want to ask, either here live or else I can provide email addresses for Mick and for Phil. So I'll just pause. If anybody has a question, you can either ask it or put it in the chat.
Bryce here. I've got a quick question. George, the Snuggie reference, that was a good one, but is that a preview for your Christmas card, the Buffalo plaid Snuggie coming? Feel free to edit these comments out later, Bethany.
I probably would, but we have a store in town called My Bemidji, and I'm guessing if there's a plaid Snuggie, he's the guy with it. So
there you go. Yep. Very good.
All right, just wait a second more for any more questions, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mick to kind of talk through the next steps in terms of how to apply. So I'm going to put in the chat our email, or our website is ideacompetition.org. It has all the information as well as links for the application. But Mick, do you want to talk through the steps for how to apply?
Sure. My email will be on the screen shortly. It's also in my nameplate there at the bottom of my picture. But I guess one thing that I really want to point out is that confidentiality is very important to the idea competition. We are as confidential as we can be. If you choose to have one of the SBDC consultants be your coach, confidentiality there is paramount. No one will know you're an SBDC client unless you tell them you're a client. So that part we take very seriously. All you really have to do to apply is go to ideacompetition.org. There's a button there for you to apply. Basically, all the application is your contact information and a little snippet on what your idea is. Again, you don't have to have a business plan done to apply or any financials or anything like that. This is just the first step, and you've got help. You've got help. You want to talk to me, email me, I'll give you a call. It may be the same day, it may be the next day, but we're here to help you through the process. There's no question.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. Thanks Tiffany, George, and Bryce for talking with us, Phil and Mick, and everyone for tuning in. Any questions, definitely Mick is always open to talk, and we certainly will answer any emails that we get. So thanks for joining us. We'll keep you updated. We also do have a Facebook page for the idea competition. So as the process continues, we'll keep updates on there as well. So thanks everybody. Have a good afternoon.
Very good.
Thank you and good luck to the entrance.
You bet.
Absolutely.
Thank you.